It is not just the drawings and the models that they make, that the built environment is what it is. Now, I want the younger architects to look beyond the single buildings, a single project. Does it reflect the culture of the place? Does it respond to the ethos of the place? Then something more happens to the building. Very often you see buildings that sit very strangely amongst something. But sometimes that strangeness also makes a big point, because probably the others had not followed this, and this one has followed. But that conviction comes from the strength of your learning. I always believe learning is to learn. You can never completely learn anything, especially in architecture. It's a huge process. And I find after nearly 60 years of architecture, I know very little. So when somebody youngster comes and says, what have I done? I said, I don't know about you, but I have learned something from you. Because I realize a few points which maybe even you didn't notice were in your project. Yes, I didn't know, right? Which means your process, which is unconscious, has brought it forward. That's what I'm looking for. It comes from the art part of it, which expresses from somewhere. Sometimes you can define it, very often you can't define it. But that is the most important source. I would rather make umpteen mistakes creating a new process, a new environment, than take something and put it there. That, I believe, is the architecture, because every project is a creative project. When somebody asked me, can you have creative architecture? I said, every project is creative, there is no question. The moment it is not creative, it's pure engineering. Even in engineering, I'll touch on the creative part, because I've challenged, like the building you're sitting with me in now. Many engineers said it wouldn't stand. But when they came and sat with me, said, with your conviction, we can do. If you notice, we have pulled off the column, it doesn't even touch the roof. One right there. So we pull it off and say yes, because my imagination says it is possible. Now your engineering should say it's possible. Your other services should say it's possible. For that, I, the architect, which coordinate all the services, almost 19 to 20 disciplines, must realize this. That realization is the greatest challenge for an young architect. Like is, today architecture is not based on pure art, like the older lot were. We are based on the other 1920 disciplines. All of that technology and all those disciplines integrate together to create an environment. That they should understand. Just sketching is not enough. Understanding the services, understanding the human emotions. Now I'm touching another very, very serious point which many people live. You look at the old Indian architecture. Today we recognize it is not just the sculptures and things that are carvings that are important. When you walk through the spaces of the old temples and the emotional movements are unbelievable. I don't know how much many people see when they walk. They all watch the sculptures. No, that is just to keep your eye of the place. But when you walk through and see one pillar standing there, and then you move the space, the pillar moves you rather than the other way. Same way, when you move into a hall, you make the circles, you run around or move around, something plays with you. That play is very, very crucial to understand as an architect. And this play with all the 1920 services, from air conditioning to lighting to acoustics to flooring to the 5 elements and the 5 senses, it's one of the most difficult aspects. But I won't ever use the word master. You can never master them, but to learn and then somehow integrate them to the extent possible. That is what these youngsters should do. And somehow win the client over on that process. Winning the client over is a big challenge, but it can be done in its own way, but it takes some time. Lot of patience. Yes, it gets angry, you get upset, but you need that patience. They should understand that they are not necessarily in competition, that they are in competition with themselves. I would like young people to do it, because it is not just the design that matters. It is not just the presentation that matters, but how the building or the environment is expressed. That matters very, very much. That the future of architecture in India is very big. These youngsters can do a lot of difference to what is happening. At the moment, yes, it's this way, that way. 90% of the buildings are more buildings rather than architecture. That 5 to 7% which is left, they should keep coming up. And I very strongly believe the youngsters, competition is a word. It is not really competing with somebody or something. It's competing within yourself. I keep on expressing, you compete with yourself, you will really achieve something unbelievable. That these awards, apart from the school awards, college awards can be for designs, but for the young architects, it should be for projects that they have done. Because that is when they learn. Because I'll tell you this in a very clear way. If I want to do presentations, I can get a good 3D presenter and make any building look fantastic. But when I do presentation and somebody goes around studying that building and walking through, the experience is what is architecture. And light and shade and movement is the architecture of the thing, the science, the senses work, the emotions work. That is how a built environment is.